Great good morning, everyone. It is 9:12 a.m. on my Cordaro Jewelers watch. This beautiful Monday, March 2nd. Yes, it's March, year of our Lord, 2026. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, broadcasting today from the United States of America, the most powerful force for good on earth. It's also the place where the brave, like the veterans we're going to salute today, thanks to John Basiliga and his Great Eastern Roofing Systems Company, like Sam Gallo of Pittston, Nicholas Donson of Dixon City, Joseph Chamel of Archbald, Richard Baca Curzon, Peckville, Joseph Hartman, Larksville, and Bob Hendricks, Danville. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible, irreplaceable, amazing founding fathers who told us that government is not, shall not be, cannot be our parent, our guide, our salvation, our direction. Not any of these things, but is nothing more than a necessary evil we require to organize and protect society. The United States of America, the country where for the first time in human history, freedom was declared to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. It was not something that could be parceled out to groups. It was not something that could be controlled by government or government officials, because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and even freedom of the press, no matter how they use it. Now, armed with these freedoms, and only because they had them, uniquely in history, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects, and their progeny from all over the world created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, well, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so, with that preamble dispensed with, we can gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all who are listening to the lunatic left, the establishment, and God knows whoever else joins in for their benefit. They've taken over our Democrat Party, and it's become a den of iniquity and a haven for insanity. And you can't even, I don't know, you can't even make sense with them anymore. It's that bad. So over the weekend, obviously, we had this attack on Iran, a joint attack by the Israelis and the Americans against that evil regime. It was signaled, it was warned, and they didn't care. So see, when you're a zealot, and we see this in our own Democrat Party, common sense escapes you. Trump said it was coming. You keep killing your people. You keep developing and building ballistic missiles. You keep trying to develop nuclear capability. And we're going to come in. And it's not going to be pretty. Now, this, if it continues to be successful, along with the Venezuelan action, people want to be stupid. I don't know why. a vast amount of the energy that China requires is supplied by whom? Iran and Venezuela. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that a fascinating geopolitical sidelight into all of this? And the same people running around wearing Ukrainian ribbons when that was the fashion statement 3 years ago. And by the way, that's all they do. It's a fashion statement. Who are not wearing them now. Never said a word about Iran supplying Russia with drones and other capacity to try to crush Ukraine. Never said a word about China doing it. Oh, and these are also the women's rights people. Never said a word about crushing women in every sense in Iran. Never said a word. It's just frightening. Unbelievable. And so this is this not only creates the prospect of a stable, peaceful Middle East, which has been everyone's goal. Only Trump has advanced the ball. But it also can serve to neuter China, our primary geopolitical foe. It could also free 90 million people to pursue their lives and dreams without trying to destroy Israel and their other neighbors in the Middle East. What do you think the Arab countries, why do you think they're with us? Even less than the tepid response of Europe, which was expected but still disappointing, because they know what maniacs were in charge of Iran. And they're now dead. And there's more to kill. Quite amazing. But it had to be done. It was going to be done sooner or later. Now the question is, the only question was, well, when? Oh, will we wait till they can deliver a ballistic missile into this country? Into our country? Or do we take care of it now before it becomes an overwhelming problem? And it started October 7th, 2023, with the slaughter of 1,200 Israelis by Iran. That's who did it. That's who supplied Hamas. So I don't know quite what to tell you. And by the way, I don't have taste for war or approve of it, but it's sadly necessary because there's evil in the world. The Iranians, the Russians, the Chinese were the axis of evil. If we eliminate one of those, it will hamper two of the other legs to that evil stool. And I actually mean that both ways. Somebody texts in, we all knew this was coming, and we all knew why. Yep. And somebody say, well, it's not clear what he was doing. What are you talking? He's been crystal clear what he was going to do. You can't kill tens of thousands of your own people. We're just not going to allow it anymore because you're scum. You can't be threatening and destabilizing your neighborhood and financing Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. Do these people forget what reality has been for the last 50 years? Like, what's the... It's almost, well, it's the usual. It's the usual patter. By the way, quickly before we go to break, being laid to rest today, Anne-Marie Regan. She was a nice person, a sweet person. She became recorder of deeds, was unbeatable in that position. A great Democrat, which we can't seem to find anymore. Well, I'm going to give some props. No, there's people I could give props to. If I start naming, I'm going to leave somebody out. I don't want to do that. But Anne-Marie Regan passing away. Her and Billy Calpin, to see them together, I don't know, it just always warmed my heart. God bless her. God bless her remaining family, and it's sad that these beautiful people have to leave us. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return. I can't even imagine how revolutionary that sound had to be. Because Murph tells us on March 2nd, 1955, Bo Diddley recorded this hit at Universal Recording Studios, Chicago, Illinois, when Chicago was great. And then 1836, the Republic of Texas, leading to the Alamo and all of that. Bob Cordaro back with you on the eponymous program. You could participate, 570-883-0098. I'll tell you what, you get into conflict, and even when you aren't in harm's way with our servicemen, it is painful to me to lose them, and I know to the president. And these now 4, one succumbed to his injuries, and it appears to have been friendly fire from a system or systems that we helped set up. Tough stuff. Good morning, Bob Charles from Scott Township here. I heard the program that was on your radio station earlier, the whining and complaining about this war, the money being spent, but I never heard them complain when Joe Biden was sending billions to Ukraine and how he left billions of dollars of equipment in Afghanistan. And don't forget, they never complained about the insanity of the open border and what that cost. It's rank hypocrisy. And it borders on insanity. It's just, what are you going to do with it? Somebody texted, Bob Biden was in South Carolina last Friday celebrating his victory 6 years ago. I mean, this stupid jackass will not go away yet. Biden said Trump got rid of all his gains. Which ones? Which ones? The people declaring that they were trans? What gains? Yeah, gains in illegal aliens? And by the way, we're probably going to reap, I've been saying this, unfortunately, and it's going to possibly become true unless our FBI does an amazing job. By the way, the politicized FBI of the Biden administration couldn't stop anything. They were too worried about people praying. Anyway, the listener says border crossings went from 2.5 million a year to 0 under Trump. Eggs $8.27 a dozen under Biden to $2.87 a dozen under Trump. Gas $5.27 a gallon under Biden to $2.59 a gallon under Trump. Gender operations skyrocketed under Biden. Now under Trump, down and forbidden. Also, inflation was out of control under Biden. Now under Trump, Biden is truly mentally unstable to make such comments, and now is the time to put his stolen valor moron in a private padded institution forever. And don't even don't forget about his corruption. Selling the vice presidency for about $50 million, might have been more. Remember grandchildren getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in that massive money laundering scheme which resulted from his corruption? Yeah, all of that. By the way, we was talking on Friday. I think it was Friday, maybe Thursday. The book, the best book I read, not the only, but the best book I read on Epstein, I thought was by James Patterson, and Mark the Shark from Hazleton was nice enough to, I couldn't remember the name. It's called Filthy Rich, a powerful billionaire, the sex scandal that undid him, and all the justice that money can buy, the shocking true story of Jeffrey Epstein. And it's written with James Patterson, John Connolly. And it is really a remarkable book. And it just brings you into the entire process and the lack of punishment. Yeah, James Patterson. Filthy rich, powerful billionaire, the sex scandal that undid him, and all the justice that money can buy. The shocking true story of Jeffrey Epstein. You can get it at a bookstore or Amazon or whatever. So thank you to Mark the Shark. We've got to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK, reminding you that this hour brought to you by Tina Morocco, Global Sales Advisor at Sotheby's International, Naples, Florida. She is your gateway to Florida real estate. You start with her, she'll get you throughout the state. And then, if you want Southwest Florida, she's your gal. We'll take a break and be back. Our Veterans Tribute this Monday and this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga. Today featuring his great Eastern Roofing Systems, his biggest and his first company. Eastern Roofing Systems, the premier roofing contractor in the eastern United States. Commercial, institutional, and guess what? They bring all of that expertise for your home or small building here in Northeast Pennsylvania because they're headquartered in Jessup. All that buying power, all of that. Eastern Roofing Systems. Sam Gallo. He was 86 when we lost him February 12th. He was from Pittston. Born in that city, 1957 graduate of Pittston High School. Was a proud member of the United States Army. Lifelong football enthusiast. He played in high school, and he volunteered on the chain gang at the Pittston area games. He retired from Intermetro in Wilkes-Barre, where he formed lasting friendships. Workers he considered family. Above all, Sam was a devoted father, remembered for his infectious smile, warm heart, and willingness to help anyone in need. Surviving are his daughters, his cherished grandchildren, and his beloved great-granddaughter. Sam was preceded in death by his wife, Joanne, and his companion, Peggy Grivner. Sam Gallo. Nicholas Donson. We lost him February 20th. He was 97. A resident of Dixon City. He passed away while living at the Gino Murley Veterans Center in Scranton. Nick and his wife Ann would have celebrated 71 years of marriage in June of this year. Born in Jessup, 1947 graduate of Jessup High School, a Jessup Baseballers Middle Division Kings. Nick and his brother Daniel qualified for participation in the Lackawanna Scholastic Baseball Playoffs. Hands was his nickname because he was also a varsity football player for the Jessup Green Wave. A World War II veteran, he served in the military police. His most important assignment was guarding Tokyo Rose. Wow. He was a member of the VFW post in Jessup. Nick began working at the age of 12 as a farmhand, then later teens at New York hotels, stock boy in the kitchen, as an adult at the A&P and Marazzi Provision Company, where he was employed as a butcher. Nick is survived by his wife, Ann Constant Donson, a daughter, Joanne, and our friends, Joanne and her husband, John Pasoda, a son, James Donson, grandchildren, whom I know, nieces, grandnieces, many other family members. Nicholas Donson. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, mostly sunny, high 36. Well, that means another great skiing day at Montage Mountain, which brings you the weather. Tonight, increasing clouds down to 25. Tuesday, a mix of spotty rain and snow showers in the morning. Could accumulate a dusting to an inch before changing over to rain by evening. High 37. Wednesday, morning rain showers, then become partly sunny and milder, high 50. And I hear tell it's going to get even warmer as we head towards the weekend. And that is a positive weather forecast brought to you by our friends at Montage Mountain Resorts. Mountain Fest this weekend, the 6th and the 7th. Oh, it's going to be a great weekend up there. Absolutely fabulous. So, getting back to, you see this Democrat Party, and I mean, they are, they're horrendous people. Swalwell. I mean, just name them. Another guy struggling for relevance, the former vice presidential candidate with Hillary Clinton. What's his name? The senator from Virginia? Just struggling to be part, I don't know, to just be somebody. One of the listeners texts in, the only people upset with the military strikes on Iran to get rid of the dictator regime are the Russians and Chinese dictators and the American left. I know. It's unbelievable. And then the Democrat Party tells you all you need to know about where their priorities are. Somebody texts in, Bob, going to war without Congress authorizing it has to stop. Are you really going to trust Congress? I'm serious about this now. You can't take decisive action. You disclose that you're actually going to attack. I don't agree with you one bit. We elect the president to run foreign policy, and sadly, with Tim Kaine, thank you, the Virginia senator, sadly, with the evil in the world, which Iran was a focal point of that evil, actions have to be taken. And the president's in the best position to do so in consultation with Congress, which is exactly what happened here. This is not World War II. And Congress cannot be trusted with the information, certainly not as a whole, not the Democrats. They can't be trusted with the information. Are you telling me that Ilhan Omar is going to be part of that decision? Are you kidding me? She hates this country. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I'm telling you, the president has the authority to undertake military action. Declarations of war have their place. But are you really going to trust the Democrats with our foreign policy? They just hate everything that is America. They hate the use of American power. They don't even want us to have power. Navy guy says, don't discount that the Chinese see us getting combat experience that they are not, and proving out how our equipment and tactics work. Oh, believe me. China is a huge part of the equation here. And once we can secure Iran, hopefully with a friendly government, but at least as a extremely chastened enemy, and that's what they were. They were our enemy outright. Somebody agreeing with the Democrats can't even make a decision on whether we want illegal immigrants in this country, and we're going to trust them to make a decision about Iran? God save us. Well, he has saved us from the Democrats with Donald Trump. Now, I'm not a Trumper, but you can't name a policy that's wrong. And if you want to do the Democrat lies, well, then I'll be able to obliterate all your lies. From tariffs to education, you go on and on and on. He saved us from insanity, the debilitated insanity. A group of people that would put Joe Biden in the presidency. You're going to trust them with life and death decisions and the direction of our military. Unbelievable. There's not one Democrat I could think of. And by the way, John Fetterman's saying it again. Talking truth to power. And that being the power in his own party. Iran made this necessary. They were beyond dangerous. And it was the right action, and God willing, it's swift and completely successful. Somebody texts in Venezuela, no more drug trafficking, and Cuba now wants the United States to help out And all the border countries want to cooperate. Biden, total jackass, on display. And another, let's not forget what Joe Biden did in Afghanistan. And the Democrats said there was nothing wrong with that either. Leaving $7 or $8 billion worth of equipment. And by the way, first time in a while the Muslims have been cheering for us in this country. The Iranians are ecstatic. They know the evil of these disgusting human beings who were fortunately wiped out by an Israeli attack. Bob, if you want the president to be in charge of going to war, change the Constitution. Well, I don't have to. I don't know what you're talking about. We've allowed a malign enemy to be in place for all this time. Trump took action. We'll be back. know we had to wait till that. Murph says the Four Seasons had the #1 hit this date, 1963, Walk Like a Man. Well, let's go to Dave in Wilkes-Barre. Dave, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Doing great, thanks.
I'll tell you what, we attacked Iran, and I am so pumped up about it. Major supporters of ISIS, Taliban, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, other terrorist organizations we never heard about. It's about time we did something. I'm glad we have a president that has the courage to do something and not have to be worried about Russia or China, because they're non-factors in this.
He gave them every chance to back out of their insanity. But just like Democrats, they're just insane and they don't even know it.
That's one thing I like about the president is he's fair to everybody. He tries to come up with a solution. The Iranians, they didn't want to come to an agreement with us, and we just can't have this happening to the citizens of the United States of America. We can't have this threat in the back of our mind for the rest of our lives.
And they threaten to destabilize the economy constantly by disrupting everything in the Middle East. No. This is the right thing to do. It's not. I'm not excited about it, but I will tell you this: it's the right thing to do, and it had to be done. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Hey, quickly, one more call, Joe. We only got 30 seconds. Fire away, Joe in Berwick.
Hey, Bob. So listen. I agree with what you're saying, but I do want to say this much. If it goes beyond a certain point of time, regardless of what kind of nincompoops we have in Congress, he would have to get some kind of congressional approval because
correct.
All I can tell you, I would not want to see another situation like Iraq where they went in under false pretenses and we're there for years on end, and then it gets given back to the Taliban.
You're not. I'm not worried about Trump that way. Like I was worried about Bush that way. I'm not worried about Trump trying to stay in or overstay. And I think he realized, and I think the people around him realize, this had better go on. I mean, maybe you got a month, maybe 2, but then you got to fish or cut bait. So you better get the job done quickly.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that. I think that's his instinct. But, like I said, hearing you this morning, I do agree with you. But unfortunately, even for somebody like Rashida Tlaib or whatever, that's their job. That's what the Constitution says. They would have to go and get, funding and whatnot if it goes past a certain point, because that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Well, after the news, we're going to have John Perillo on. We're going to explore that issue, the constitutional part of this issue. So I appreciate it very much, Joe. Hey, my Ricardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 10:01, which means it's after time for the news. So let's go do that, and we'll come back. Monday musings on an important Monday in all of our lives. We'll take a break and be back. great good morning, everyone. 10 a.m. on my Picardo Jewelers watch. This beautiful Monday, March 2nd, year of our Lord 20 and 26. This is the Bob Cordaro Show, and I am he. And it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values. And with the help of our man, John Basiliga, and his great Eastern Roofing Systems Company, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we've lost this year, but celebrate today, thanks to John, like Nicholas Donson of Dixon City, Sam Gallo of Pittston, Richard Baca Kazan, Peckville, Joseph Chamel, Archbald, Joseph Hartman, Larksville, and Bob Hendricks, Danville. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let's continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you who've been subjected to the lunacy of the left and the Democrat Party. So it's Monday, and right on cue, here he is, as reliable as rain, our man John Perillo,
Hey,
on
Bob,
to
how
talk
you
about
doing?
Monday musings. How are you, my man?
Never a dull moment.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It just never ends. Right? And I had told Bob earlier that I wanted to talk about Rubio's speech in Munich, which I still want to talk about, but events of this weekend are a bit more pressing once again. And
well,
at this point, no matter
it fits in with what is happening.
Yes, it does.
It really
it
does. He's scolding
and
Europe for being weak, and sure enough, they're weak on cue.
Well, we will have that discussion too at some point. But at this point, no matter what you're hearing in the news, we really don't know that much about the strike. A lot of what's happening in the news is people are trying to fill in blanks where we don't really know, except for the fact that it proves once again that we have a very capable military, one that's unmatched in the world, and unless we commit suicide culturally, we're safe here from external threats. Right. And on the heels of our discussion of the Supreme Court tariff ruling, I wanted to talk about the president's authority to act here and some thoughts as to what's going on. And I think it's important to remember that Iran, since it became the Islamic Republic of Iran in 1979, has chosen to be at war with the United States. Prior to the Islamic Revolution, we were allied with the Shah of Iran, who was certainly no saint, far from it, excuse me, but he was a pro-American tyrant at least. The Islamic Republic came to power fully on about February 11th of 1979, and the U.S. Embassy was attacked on November 4th of the same year. So it was one of the first things they did. 66 hostages held for years. And following that, with the attacks on the Marine compound in 1983, the Khobar Tower bombings in 1996, the countless deaths of American service people in that region, the sponsorship of Hezbollah and Hamas, and I'm getting more irritated as I go along. But the point is that we have been with Iran, at war with Iran, and they have been killing and maiming Americans since it became the Islamic Republic. And as we've discussed, the Iranian Islamic leadership has always believed that it was their most important mission to bring about the rise of the 12th Imam, who would bring about the global Islamic Caliphate, and that they believed that they could do that by destroying Israel as well as minimizing the U.S. And once you understand that, you further understand that there was really never anything for this or any previous administration to negotiate about, period. That's the background. And I'm a fan of Andrew McCarthy. He's a federal prosecutor and very careful about how he makes his cases, as you'd expect from a prosecutor. And I'll rely on some of his work here. But there's a phrase that keeps coming up in our, quote, forever wars that I want to address up front. Americans are rightly concerned about open-ended military operations. But I would point out that most Americans understand that the combat part of war is rarely done on some neat calendar. It takes what it takes to defeat your enemy. And, you can ask the Ukrainians. They've been at their most recent war with Russia for 4 years, 12 really from the initial Russian attacks on that country. You don't get to decide when a war is over. Only your enemy does. And what I think, what's most important what most Americans object to is the death and maiming of U.S. servicemen and women in some decades-long attempt to bring Jeffersonian democracy to Islamic societies who don't want it and couldn't keep it even if they did, because they don't have the prerequisites of Western civilization that a republic like ours requires to survive, right? And as McCarthy points out, that in the more than 20 years between the 9/11 attacks on the U.S. and the pullout of our troops from Afghanistan, we have managed to learn at least some things despite our best efforts not to. And I think the key learning is that the American public will support military action as long as we have a real interest in what's going on and not some tangential hypothetical connection, and if we believe the actions affect our national security. And again, so you know my prejudices, this is personal to me. Not only was I choking on the dust in that region 100 years ago, my son is Army, Bob's son is a former Marine, we have a second cousin of ours who's a Marine reservist, and the criteria I generally try to use is, would I be okay with them being there for this reason? Are you okay with putting your children at risk for this cause? And with that background, there are two questions regarding our president's actions in Iran. The easiest one to ask is it legal? Right? And I'm a stickler for this because the Constitution matters. The founders of our country did not want one person putting my children at risk for some cause that only one person thought was important. And your listener from the last hour is correct that the Constitution requires Congress to declare war, no matter what we think about certain members of Congress, right? In this case, the president does have the legal authority for this action. And in 2001, the authorization to use military force, which was passed by Congress, states that, and I'm going to quote it here, the president is authorized to use all necessary and appropriate force against those nations, organizations, or persons he determines planned, authorized, committed, or aided the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11, 2001, or harbored such organizations or persons in order to prevent any future attacks of international terrorism against the United States by nations, organizations, or persons, end quote. Right? Now, I would point out that that authorization is older than many of the young people who are out there fighting, and that Congress can and should take another look at that 2001 authorization. But until they do so, it's in place, and it gives the president the authority to do what he's doing. So to your listener from the last hour, that's the reason why the president has the ability to do that. The counter argument that some have raised is that organizations like ISIS didn't even exist when that authorization was given, and that in the end, we basically gave a treaty-like agreement to the Taliban when we pulled out of Afghanistan, and that in both Syria and Libya and other places, we supported factions aligned with al-Qaeda. And all those are fair points. And some of those actions were, in my opinion, very unwise. But none of that makes President Trump's actions illegal as long as the authorization to use military force remains in place, and only Congress can change it, and only Congress can grant it. So, again, to your listener, that is, in fact, congressional authority, short of a declaration of a war, which we don't generally do anymore, but that is Congress acting, right? The fact that there would have been no al-Qaeda without the support of Iran, and that Iran is supporting al-Qaeda operations against the U.S., including the attacks on the U.S. on 9/11 and during our most recent operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, and there are more dead and maimed Americans than I care to think about because Iran has been at war with the U.S. since the overthrow of the Shah. The authorization to use military force passed by Congress specifically authorizes the president to respond, no matter how wise or unwise you think our involvement in that region has been for the last couple of decades, right? And if there wasn't an authorization to use military force, we still have the ongoing attacks against the U.S. Navy and international shipping conducted by the Houthis at the direction of Iran. And it's out of our daily view, so we tended not to see it. But as a naval officer, which I'm now out of that now, but you can bet your sweet bottom that I keep an eye on what my old teammates are doing there. And then you have to add to the fact that the Iranian regime was the support behind the 10/7 attacks by Hamas into Israel that killed dozens of Americans and took 11 Americans hostage. And here with the ancient Romans and the discussion we had a long time ago about the Roman, quote, liberal, end quote, concept of citizenship. Being a Roman citizen anywhere in the world gave you the protection of Rome. And our founders understood that model, and they understood the gravity of calling someone a U.S. citizen. It means that the U.S. is legally bound to protect its citizens, just as we would have and have done since the time of the Barbary pirates, which, oh, by the way, are the same knuckleheads we're fighting now.
Yeah.
And I hope that's helpful because, as I've said many times before, the process matters. And in this case, the president is well within his authority. And the second question would be, is this a good idea? And that's a much more complicated question. When the Iranian regime chants death to America, it's not some idle protest. They mean precisely what they say. And as we've discussed, it is, or was, I guess now, the position of the supreme leader that it is his country's responsibility to bring about that coming of the 12th Imam. And a quick comparison that might be helpful to your listeners. Christians also have an apocalyptic view of the end of the world, right? Without getting into all the theology, Christians believe that the restoration of God's kingdom on earth happens all at once, right? But the difference is that our actions in Christianity, we don't believe that our actions cause that apocalypse. That happens on God's time, right? And as of yesterday, the Iranians were still doing their best to bring about that global Islamic war. And they have been attacking their own neighboring Gulf Arab states. And what they were trying to do in that case was to bring them into this conflict because they hoped to precipitate a larger war against Israel. And to me, this is the most important change in that region in my lifetime. The rest of the region has never been pro-Israel, and they're not, likely never going to be pro-Israel. And it's hard to overstate the anti-Semitism that's there and in Europe. But as of this weekend, the other countries in that region are more pro-Israel than they are pro-Iran. And if you're a Saudi royal or in the UAE or Jordan for that matter, you'd much rather have Israel as your neighbor than Iran. And that's because Israel is stable, and no matter what you hear from the kids in the campuses of Columbia University, Israel is not interested in expanding their territory. All that said, I do have some disagreement with the president in all this. So far, we don't really know the objectives of the strike, right? I mean, you've heard Hegseth's three-point plan this morning, which I'll dig into. The earlier strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities had a clear objective. And his State of the Union address was, 111 minutes long? We got an 8-minute canned speech on this, and I believe that no matter what the legality is of this, the citizens of our country should understand before you put our troops in harm's way, what's the specific objectives are of this operation. And if we want to overthrow the government there, which is an objective that I support for what it's worth, then say that. How do we ensure that the next leader of Iran isn't worse than the last one? We need to know that. And clearly the Iranian people hated that regime, but that doesn't ensure that it falls. Remember that this, as we discussed before, winds up being an anti-revolutionary moment. The rise of the Islamic Republic was the revolutionary moment, and that historically those things don't go very well. And last thought, I think we need to look at, Iran and Venezuela, not just in the context of what they mean as clear adversaries of the U.S., but also because they, along with Russia, are the suppliers of energy to our most important global adversary in China. Taken all together, this is a critical strategic move. We're really cutting off the energy supply to our most dangerous adversary in the world right now. Iran isn't our most dangerous adversary. China is. And this move, along with what's going on in Venezuela, we need to take a look at those in as one set piece, right? And the concern, of course, is that we really don't know what happens next. And I don't know that we have a plan to make that happen. We might, but I haven't heard it yet. And if we exchange the last group of suicidal mullahs for another group of suicidal mullahs, we really haven't gained anything. And for your listeners, just a couple of thoughts, right? There's no way the Israelis want to be involved in the next leadership, and we probably can't be involved behind some kind of interim governorship because that would make what comes next there less acceptable for the more moderate Muslims in that region. And yes, the people there hated the regime, but unless they have guns or kill everybody who has the guns, there's still a bunch more work to do, right? So, no matter what side you come on down on this, I certainly think there's a lot more work to do. I'm rooting for that free and prosperous Iran. I love the pictures of the people out there, waving flags and talking about freedom. But remember, there was a revolution that brought this regime to power, and certainly some people still agree with its aims.
All right.
So that's kind of where we're at, and let's pray that what comes next is better than what was there before.
It can't get worse. I really believe that.
I hope you're right.
And I think this was necessary. And now the success depends upon execution. And we're going to find
Absolutely.
out. We'll find out.
Absolutely.
No risk, no reward. And Trump's willing to take risks. I'm pretty happy with that.
Certainly is willing to do that. Yes, sir.
And I think China has woken up to the fact that we just might control their energy supply.
I think that is a huge move for us
Yes.
against China. And to you and your listeners, I hope you guys have a great week and pray for those troops out there. They certainly
Amen.
could use it.
Amen. Thank you, our man John Perillo. Monday Musings. We'll be back. Our veterans tributes this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by True Patriot, friend of the vets, John Basiliga. Featuring today just one of his great companies, his first and his biggest, Eastern Roofing Systems. The premier roofing contractor for institutional, commercial, and other reasons throughout the eastern United States. And they bring all that buying power, all that experience, because they're headquartered in Jessup, right here to all of Northeast Pennsylvania for your home or small building. Richard Baca Krzan. We lost him February 15th. He was born in Peckville, attended Valley View High School. He met the love of his life, Genevieve, in 1971. They got together in 1974. They were wed in 1975. He served us in the U.S. Marine Corps, 1974 to 1980. Lifelong member of the Hrichak McAndrew Legion Post. In 1976, Richard and his wife welcomed the birth of their first children, twins Richard Jr. and Harry. Harry tragically passed away in 1976. They also welcomed their daughter in 1980. He drove truck cross country, getting to see almost every state, bringing back gifts and for his children and eventually his grandchildren. He loved to spend time with his family, especially with the new addition of his great-granddaughter. He was a fierce protector of his family and would do anything to keep them safe. His family will smile and think of him when they hear the song Midnight Blue, when they eat banana cake, and when they see deer in the backyard. Preceded in death by his parents and his son Harry, he survived by his wife Genevieve, his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchild, and other family members. Richard Baca Krzan. Joseph Shamel. He was 78 when we lost him February 21st. He was from Archbald. Born in that great town, he was a member of St. Thomas Aquinas, Christ the King Parish. He was a graduate of Archbald High School and attended the Municipal Police Officers Education and Training Commission to obtain his police certification. He served as an air police officer in the United States Air Force Base, at U.S. Strategic Command, and in Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska. Following his military police, he continued to serve us as an Archbald police officer for over 35 years. He also served as a security officer post-retirement at various local facilities. He loved frequenting local restaurants and made many acquaintances along the way. He rarely missed an opportunity to get together for coffee with his countless friends. A number of family members survive him. Joseph Shamel. Our great veterans this hour brought to you by John Basiliga and his Eastern Roofing Systems. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker, brought to you by Montage Mountain Resorts. I think of Montage when I think of the weather, and vice versa. They mean weather. And they've got a big event coming up this weekend, Mountain Fest on the 6th and the 7th. Well, let's see the weather leading up to Mountain Fest. Today, mostly sunny, 36. Tonight, increasing clouds down to 25. Tuesday, a mix of spotty rain and snow showers in the morning. Could accumulate a dusting to an inch before changing over to rain by evening, high 37. Wednesday, morning rain showers, then becoming partly sunny and milder, high 50. And this weekend should be warm for Mountain Fest at Montage Mountain Resort. It is going to be great. Oh, aren't the Beatles great? Murph tells us this date, 1964, they released their hit, Twist and Shout. And everybody went wild. So the Middle East war raging. And it's a covert or an overt war now. It was a covert war. They never stopped trying to kill Americans. They never, the Iranian regime, never stopped corrupting and murdering their own people. They never stopped trying to destabilize and control the entire Middle East. They never stopped being evil. And Khamenei, at the very least, is stopped because he's dead. My word. It's just, it's really an amazing thing. And, you know, I listen to the people who want to have, I don't know, I'm like, they want to do nothing. That's the short version of things. They want things to go as they are. Like, all right, let's just muddle through. Let's not change anything. Let's not fix anything that Biden and his clowns screwed up. By the way, someone asked who was the woman who we put on at 10 o'clock to open the program this hour, and that is Alika Lebon. Alika Lebon. And she was on Instagram, but Alika Lebon. Through David Harris, Jr., who I follow on Instagram. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of support to take Iran back and bring it back into the family of nations. Obviously, you can't bring back a dictatorship to replace the dictatorship. It doesn't matter whether it's a theocracy or just a dictator. Things will eventually go awry. And I think most of the people in Iran want new governance and would appreciate a democratic process to determine who that is. And we've got to work on it. We've got to see. But the defanging of an enemy of the world, and Trump, as ineloquent as he is, he said it right. They were at war with civilization. They were barbarians. They were savages. We'll see what kind of bench depth they have after about 40 of their leaders were killed, and I think the Israelis will find more and kill more. And thank God for that. Hey, this hour brought to you by Tina Morocco, Global Sales Advisors, Sotheby's International Realty, Naples, Florida. She's your gateway to Florida. And she is the expert on Southwest Florida. Go to tinamorocco.com, MURACCO. I was with them, her and her husband. They're both lawyers. On Friday night, we went to Atera. It was great. And we went to the Scranton Club, which was also great. And then Saturday, as Cutie would say, and Cutie was away, I joined Rob O'Donnell and Mr. Paul and the Lewises for Ragnacci's. And we had a great night. We really had a great night. So it was a good weekend. And then yesterday, I don't know why, I get a taste for it, but I got an aggressive taste for the cherry pie at Jerry's for All Seasons up in Dunmore. I called up. I said, could you make me a pie? She says, it's going to be 2 hours. I said, I have no problem with that. And I went out and got pie, and I knew I was running low on milk. And so I got the milk and the pie, and then, savagely attacked it once I got home. And I'm not mad about it. I'm not upset with myself. It was that good. Cherry pie at Jerry's for All Seasons. It's amazing. I neglected to get the name of the woman who made it to sing her praises. It was unbelievable. And I finished it this morning. I think my son Bobby snuck in and ate a little bit. But I finished it this morning, and unbelievable. It was so, even the next day, you could keep it for a week and be unbelievable. It's just that good. And I've got to try to resist getting another one. By the way, Mark the Shark reminds me that it is Dr. Seuss's birthday. Isn't that great? All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We may interrupt for Trump coming to speak. He's looking at about 11 o'clock. We're going to see. It does list. It's a Medal of Honor ceremony. Probably not. Okay. But he's going to be honoring, I think, veterans from Venezuela and maybe even from this current conflict, which they deserve it all. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return. Always a sad, bittersweet song. Terry Jacks. Murph says this date, 1974, he had the number one hit, Seasons in the Sun, about a young man who's going to die. How about that? Biden banner disgrace, day 77. The Greenridge Neighborhood Association wrongly and foolishly put up a hometown hero banner intended for veterans in the name of Joe Biden, the disgrace. Well, I hope someone rational can come and say, take that down. I don't care what kind of banner you put up. If you want to disgrace yourself, do it. But don't give him credit for being in our military. Don't debase those who have actually served. Biden banner disgrace, day 77. Well, when I think of something disgusting like Joe Biden, March 2nd, Mother Teresa, St. Teresa. She said, some people come in our life as blessings. Some come into your life as lessons. So some people are blessings, some are lessons. Great Mother Teresa for today. Thank you, Mary Regina. I appreciate it. We've got to use her. I mean, we're going to talk about him. We've got to use her. Somebody just texted, hey, Bob, just wondering, I haven't heard you mention your dog lately. Oh, Chauncey's a superstar. He really is a great dog. And he's funny looking and funny and all of that. But, yeah, he's still good. But anyway, the listener says, we went to John's movie theater, meaning John Basiligas, the Scranton Art House, on Saturday. I don't know how anybody could go to Cinemark and not go to John's. It was great. I think it is. By the way, Rich in the Villages gives me an LTS. He says, Bob, the best thing I found out about turning 65 is you're able to move up to the senior teas. Somebody says, you did not eat a whole pie, did you? Of course I did. That's what I got it for. Somebody else. Slick says, Bob, LTS. Most guys, when their significant other is away, are out gallivanting and hanging with unscrupulous people, but you are eating an entire pie. I know. And you know what's funny? I actually, over the weekend, I don't know how it happened, I lost weight. I got on the scale this morning, and by the way, I finished the pie this morning, and I was under 210. So, Bob, I want your diet. Amazing you're not over 700 pounds. Well, I was approaching that. You got to taste this. You go taste the pies up at Jerry's for all seasons. I might ask them to advertise because I want to brag about them. The whole store, not just the pies. And, yeah, you go get a pie up there. You'll finish it. I'm telling you. By the way, we're going to go to Donald Trump when I just got my instructions. We're going to go to Donald Trump when he appears. And as always, we want to thank. Did I say tank? I might have. I want to thank Tina Morocco, global sales advisor at Sotheby's International Real Estate in Naples, Florida. She is your gateway to everything Florida, specializing in Southwest Florida. You could reach her at Tina Morocco, MURACCO.com, or look her up at Sotheby's in Naples. You'll find her contact information, but easiest for me, TinaMorocco.com. Delightful, her and Dominic. Got to hang around with them Friday night. But, yeah, the pie thing, the key is to, all right, if I have one every month maybe, but I don't know if I'll be able to resist. This was so good, it was off the charts. Hey, I'm looking at my Bacardo Jewelers watch, and it's telling me something. What it's telling me is it's time for the news with Brian Hughes. We may join Donald Trump in progress after that, but it's 11 o'clock and change. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Great good morning, everyone. My Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it is 11:06 a.m. here in the great Northeast this beautiful Monday, March 2nd, 2026. This is the Bob Cordaro Show, and I am he. And it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Eastern Roofing Systems, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we lost this year, but salute today, thanks to John, like Sam Gallo of Pittston, Nicholas Donson, Dixon City, Richard Baca, Curzon, Peckville, Joseph Chamel, Archbald, Joseph Hartman, Larksville, and Bob Hendricks, Danville. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our commitment to common sense is so deep, we will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you when commentators and political parties have gone insane. A lot of you fascinated with this pie thing. Hey, Bob, LTS, as always, Jerry's is one of the only place I'll ever get desserts for holidays and birthdays. And I'm a pie guy. Somebody, the electrician texted, he said, I think you're the new pie man, Bob. Oh, yeah. St. Bob, another texter, you got to get down to 195 pounds. No more blood pressure pills. I don't use blood pressure pills. I give blood pressure to the left. I don't have it. And then somebody else, I live in Waymart. I have to go to Dunmore today. Now I have to stop at Jerry's. But you have to, now, if cherry pie is not your thing, they'll have other pies ready. But you got to order them a couple hours in advance, just so you know. Yeah. Dirt wants to know how I eat pie and lose weight. I just apply pie to my backside. Now I have to try one. You have to. I'm telling you. But you got to order them. They don't always have the cherry. And what I did to try to not be a savage is when I'd go into the store for other reasons, I would look and see if they had one ready, and if they didn't, I'd walk out without a pie, exercising my discipline. But yesterday I said, I've got to order it. And I did, and very happy I did, too. I'll be thinking about it. And I mentioned it the first hour, being laid to rest today, former Lackawanna County Recorder of Deeds, Anne Marie Regan, a true lady. Just a great woman. A great woman. I knew her since I don't know, I guess a young adult. And great stuff. My friend Mark texting in. He met Tina Morocco, our great realtor. And he's telling me, enjoy the pie unless you polish it off. I did, Mark. It's gone. How long do you think that pie was going to last? Seriously. I sat down with a half a gallon of milk, and I drink whole milk, by the way. I sat down with a half a gallon of milk and the pie, and I attacked it from the center. Somebody texted, Bob, the Biden Stolen Valor hometown banner proves to everyone the Democrat Party wants to put the corrupt, evil former President Joe Biden in a positive, patriotic family setting. But the real Joe Biden, when president, did the exact opposite. Why not hang a true banner of what Biden represented? The president that promoted puberty and sex changes on innocent children. Why won't the Greenridge Neighborhood Association tell the truth if they want to promote this man's true identity and beliefs? I agree. Oh, no, it's a complete embarrassment for the area. But the point of the Hometown Hero banner is to honor veterans, of which Joe Biden is not. He was a draft dodger. And so he shouldn't be on a hometown hero banner. You can put any banner you want. Embarrass yourself all you want. Crazy stuff. I don't know who the stubborn people are there that won't make this right. It's not about a win or a loss. It's about truth. It's about fact. It's about reality and facing those things. If you're dumb enough to honor them any way you want, not with a hometown hero banner. Period. That's all. Not asking them for anything. We're not asking for anything but the truth. And they want to live like liars. Well, then they're going to get it every day on this program. Jim from Hazleton. How are you, Jim?
Good, Bob. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
It's crazy. So, quickly, it's all about, we learned anything from the Democrats, it's all about identification. So, Trump's never used the word war. Hegseth has never used the word war. So, let's just call it what it is. It's an armed disagreement.
No, I've actually heard them say war.
Well,
and
that's
remember, it's the Department of War.
Well, they just need to just take a page from the liberals and identify it as an armed disagreement.
Yeah, just make up some gobbledygook.
Hey, if a man can be a girl and a girl can be a guy, you might as well just call it what it is. Make it up. But anyway, back what I was going to say. I don't know. I guess if I would say one thing, the Ayatollah had to be a Democrat. Who would say after Trump threatened him on the weekend that you would have breakfast with 40 of your closest allies in the morning? And when they already said to get out of Iran if you can, because there might be something going on this weekend, why you would invite 40 of your top allies to a breakfast and then and not expect something to happen is beyond idiocy.
Jim, you could be a maniac, a homicidal maniac, and be clever, but you can't be a homicidal maniac and be smart. It doesn't work at the same time.
The one last thing I wanted to say, because before I go, you were going into my lead-in with me. You were saying about the banner Biden, the Biden banner. So what would they say if New York City if Donald Trump put one of them hometown hero banners up in Trump Towers? What the left would say about that?
Yeah, they'd go out of their minds. And that's what I'm saying. These people have no self-awareness. They don't understand their own hypocrisy. And they don't understand their own stupidity, quite obviously, because that sign is still there.
Right, because if he gets a sign for being the commander-in-chief, then so should Trump, and he should get 2 signs because he's did it twice. So it just, I just don't understand. It's just the stuff that they come up with, the way they spin things, and there's no logic involved with it.
Well, a guy that was at the meeting, and the vote was 10-5 to keep the banner. And so that means more normal people have to go. And the rallying cry from the one woman, I guess, maybe the head of it or whatever, was, well, he risked his life every time he left the White House. Oh, my God. It's just insane.
In an armored vehicle, he risked his life.
Yeah, I know.
The only way he risked his life was a set of stairs. And a stage.
Or being forced to think. Yeah, those 2 things could have killed him.
Just think what would have happened if we didn't have the Easter Bunny, Bob. Without the Easter Bunny, we would have had an international incident.
He'd still be drifting around the lawn of the White House.
Oh my God!
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it, my brother.
Thanks. Yep.
Still waiting for Donald Trump. We'll take that as it comes. Somebody takes me, not on topic, Bob. Well, that's okay. But have you heard that after the reassessment, vacant land really got valued extremely high, and those people are getting hammered? The more land you own, the worse you got it. No, I did not hear that. I didn't hear that at all. I don't have any vacant land, but interesting. Yeah, somebody said by the metrics of the left regarding hometown hero banners, Trump is due a Purple Heart. Oh, yes, he is. But this vacant land is interesting. Now, Scranton's taxes, which were set up for development, there's more of an emphasis on the land than the improvements. And maybe it's people in Scranton getting whacked. Somebody takes in, while some guys go on a drinking and womanizing binge when the boss lady's away, you have an affair with a pie. Well, it wasn't an affair. It was just a brief attack that I was successful. Oh, Lord. Somebody half gallon of whole milk and an entire pie would cause another toilet paper shortage. Well, no. Stop it. Stop it. All right, we'll take a break. Still waiting for Donald Trump in the, I guess it's the East Room of the White House. We'll take a break, and we will come back. David Essex. Murph says this date, 1974, moved up to number 6 with his hit Rock On. Bob Cordaro back. Somebody takes in, Bob, as far as Scranton, my sister has a double lot, one deed, just a 30 by 130 lot, and they assessed it at $32K, just the lot. Now, the assessment doesn't mean the bill, though. But you should be questioning your assessment if it's too high. Somebody says, hey, Bob, correct. We own 8 acres on Elmhurst Boulevard. The county tax went up to $400. The Caddy Daddy says. LTS back at you, Caddy Daddy. Sorry about your bill. Well, that Gaughan really screwed things up quickly, didn't he? Somebody says, I'm talking to people in Scott Township and Benton Township who have more acreage, and they are also saying their land was highly valued after reassessment. Somebody says, the president ruined the hometown hero banners every patriot loved. Well, he didn't ruin them. The Greenridge Neighborhood Association did. Can't blame Biden for that. He would have no clue. We won't see him. He doesn't need us anymore for his image and for votes. Somebody else, Bob, it just goes to prove everything Biden touches, he ruins. Now the one thing all veterans' families cherish is now tarnished because of a non-veteran president ruining the hometown hero banners for every... Yeah, that banner is a disgrace. Absolute disgrace. So apparently the land is getting whacked. Bob, veterans in all 67 PA counties listen to your show, and around the country, the Greenridge Neighborhood Association wants you to throw in the towel concerning the banner. Never! Bob, be like Rocky and go the distance. All us veterans are rooting for you. And I don't know why the Greenridge Neighborhood Association isn't rooting for the veterans. I don't get it. And then what is it now? Just to prove, oh, well, we're not going to change anything for... Put a different banner up if you want to be fools. Be fools on your own time. Don't disgrace the uniforms. Don't disgrace what our veterans have done for us. No, we're not going away. We're going to keep going. And we're going to start calling out the names of the people who voted for this. We're going to embarrass them personally. I've enough. Enough. Donald Trump has told Brett Baer 49 Iranian leaders have been killed. Well, in a country of 90 million, there's a lot more that got to go. And then you got to find the ones who either see the light and say, okay, we're tired of being murderous, theocrat scumbags. You know? And there are plenty of expat Iranians who would love to go and get their country back. That absolutely love it. And would die for it. So we'll see. But the discussions, I warn you, the discussions on all of this from the Democrat Party and the left are going to be they're going to be just as nonsensical as everything else they talk about. So don't be hoping for normalcy from people who have become abnormal, many of whom are like, you look at Swalwell. He's mentally ill. He needs help. Tim Walz, he needs help. You got Kamala Harris, she just doesn't have much of a brain. AOC, not much of a brain, could be mentally ill, but the stupidity is the lead. These are scary people. Elizabeth Warren, just think about them. Ilhan Omar, this is the Democrat Party. A once great political party has been Chuck Schumer. Ugh. It's really unbelievable. So I don't know. Happy for Iran's liberation. Still waiting for Minneapolis, Chicago, Philly, and New York to be liberated. I know. They are under oppressive rule by left-wing lunatics. And they are being destroyed. Just as certainly, by the way, as bombs and weaponry would do. Hey, on a brighter note, still watching Robert Duvall movies. There is a delightful movie, and it's one of those movies about nothing. Wrestling Ernest Hemingway. And the movie is just heartwarming and fantastic. And we watched it, my son Bobby and I watched it over the weekend. And such a pleasure. Wrestling Ernest Hemingway. Good stuff. Bob, somebody takes in, the American people are outraged now in time of war, honoring a non-veteran President Joe Biden with a hometown hero banner. This jackass was a total disgrace as president and is not a veteran. Case closed. Well, not with the Green Ridge Neighborhood Association. They'll have a meeting coming up, and I hope normal people come and normal thinking governs and they take it down. If you're so enamored of Joe Biden and want to pretend that he was in the military, put it in your basement. Do not debase our veterans. It's disgusting. And it's wrong, more importantly. Yeah, by the way, I don't know this vacant land thing. It's a really interesting question. You know, did somehow the reassessment jack up land values? And again, you have to state this. Your assessment is not your tax. So just because the assessment goes up so many percent doesn't mean your taxes went up. You'll know because you've already gotten the bill. So we'll see. Hey, the Picardo Jewelers, the Breitling watch store time, it's 11:30. That means we've got to go to break. We'll come back with a tribute to actual veterans, the weather, and then you at 570-883-0098. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. Featuring today his first company, his biggest company, and a great company it is, Eastern Roofing Systems. Premier institutional and commercial roofer throughout the Eastern Seaboard. And they bring that expertise and that buying power to put a roof on your house and your small building right here in Northeast Pennsylvania because they're headquartered in Jessup. Eastern Roofing Systems. Joseph Hartman. He passed away February 18th at the age of 74. He was from Larksville. Born in Kingston, graduate of Westside Career and Technology Center. He served his country proudly in the U.S. Army. Joe was then a machine mechanic with Genova Products for many years until his retirement. After retiring, he chose to continue working with his good friend Paul Shervey, helping out at the coal yard. He was a longtime member of the Larksville American Legion and a truck enthusiast. He worked on a 1951 Chevy from the frame to total restoration. He was always working on some kind of project. He'll be sadly missed by his loving wife of more than 50 years, Brenda, his daughter Mary, his son Joseph, grandchildren, and other family members. Joseph Hartman. Robert Bob Hendricks. We lost him at age 79. He was a proud Marine Corps veteran, avid golfer. He lived in Danville, and we lost him February 23rd. Born in Danville, graduate of Danville High School in 1964. He was a proud United States Marine Corps veteran, enlisting in 1965. He achieved the rank of corporal. He survived by the love of his wife, his wife of 39 years, Candace Lyons Hendricks. They were married in 1986. Bob's latest employment was at Danville State Hospital, from where he retired. Life member of the Danville American Legion, where he served as senior vice commander. Was also a member of the original Honor Guard. He loved the golf, Monday night leagues at Cherokee Golf Course. Bob's sense of humor and genuine interest in others will be forever remembered by those fortunate enough to have known him. In addition to his wife, he's survived by 2 daughters, 1 son, 3 stepchildren, 10 grandchildren. He was buried with full military rights at Indiantown Gap National Cemetery in Annville. Bob Hendricks. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. Storm Tracker 16 forecast. Well, all of that is brought to you by our friends at Montage Mountain Resorts. It's Mountain Fest this weekend, one of their biggest events of the year. We're going to get Tyler on during the week to talk about it. Meteorologist Joe Snedeker tells us today mostly sunny, 36 degrees. Tonight, increasing clouds, low 25. Tuesday, mix of spotty rain and snow showers in the morning. Could accumulate a dusting to an inch before changing over to rain by evening on Tuesday, 37 degrees. Wednesday morning, rain showers, then becoming partly sunny and milder, high 50, and then it's supposed to be even warmer on the weekend. Get to Montage. Enjoy it. Winter weather's not going anywhere yet. By the way, and he's my GOAT in terms of basketball, Wilt Chamberlain, 100 points this day, 1962, at Hershey Arena versus the New York Knicks. Wilt Chamberlain, my GOAT. And I love Michael Jordan, but no, Chamberlain was the man. Styx. Murph says this date, 1981, they released their hit, Too Much Time on My Hands. There's never enough time. Where did they get that from? I look at my Picardo Jewelers watch and I'm saying, my gosh, the show's almost over. We just got here. Somebody takes in, Bob, concerning the Biden Stolen Valor banner, it defies the 2013 Stolen Valor rules and should be reviewed by the DOJ in Washington for possible removal by federal authorities, regardless of what the Green Ridge Neighborhood Association wants. Check out the law. It doesn't strictly fall under the law. I don't think there's a legal route to do it. There's a common sense route, though. A very clear common sense route to take down the banner. Like, okay, was he a veteran? No. Then take it down. You know, we were already scarred by this highway that Paige Cognetti and idiot Bill Gaughan gave us. This expressway and the street, which I don't acknowledge anymore. I'm done. It's Spruce Street. Sorry. I mean, embarrassing us to the whole country. That we're honoring this boob like we're proud and we don't know any better. But again, if you want to be an ass and honor Joe Biden, do it in your own way. Don't steal the valor of those who actually served this country. And that's what we'll be talking about every day. And we are going to start naming names. We're getting there very close to naming names so that they could deal with it. You could deal with your own, you could deal with your stupidity publicly. Amazing. Somebody says, I live in Covington Township. My 50 by 150 strip of land, which is unimprovable due to drainage concerns, was assessed in excess of 40 grand after I purchased it at tax sale for $5. Fortunately, after fighting it, the assessment value was dropped to the 10 to 15 range. You got to fight these things. Somebody says, not only was Biden not a veteran, he's a full-blown traitor opening the borders. Yep. Is it John K. from Benton? He says, Bob, AOC is all out crazy. Yeah, she's bat spit crazy. She really is. And I mean, but remember, when it comes to her and Kamala, the shallowness, the lack of intellect, actually, she may not be insane because there's no there. Interesting question. Interesting that you posit this, but I don't. Just you. At some point, you could be just too dumb to be insane. You know. That may apply. That may apply to Rip Taylor, stupid old Tim Walz up in Minnesota. I don't know. But Chuck Schumer, sociopath. Gavin Newsom, sociopath. Hakeem Jeffries, sociopath. Every member of the squad, sociopaths. Because they're doing it because they believe what they're saying. And to believe what they're saying, you have to be insane. Crazy. All right, we've got to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK, just reminding you, Picardo Jewelers, they got Raymond Weil, Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, Swiss Army, Seiko, Tory Burch, Victorinox, Bulova, G-Shock, and more. And it's a wedding band sale one day only this Saturday. We'll have Alex on this week to talk about it. We'll be back. Fogerty, Murph tells us he moved into the top 10 charts at number 10 with his hit, The Old Man Down the Road, which I've become. Well, President Trump went off topic a little bit there, and then he would be coming back to it. That's why I don't like to air these things, but it's what it is. Hey, we're done, though. Sue Henry's already in the studio, impatiently ready to go on the attack. So I've got to go. Great being with you. You know that. God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow morning at 9. But for now,